a country-level engagement and assistance to reduce child labor in Belize concluded today in commemoration of the World Day Against Child Labor, which is recognized annually on June 12th. Via the Clear 2 project, GOB was supported with the strengthening of the legal framework and the monitoring and enforcement mechanisms related to child labor. A legislative review committee comprised of public and private sector organizations, as well as civil society, reviewed existing legislation related to child labor.
Some of the key recommendations that have been submitted includes looking at the age of a child under the Labor Act. Presently, the age of a child is 14 under the Labor Act. Now, if we look at what is the internationally recognized standard for a child, it is a person, anybody under the age of 18. And so that is one of the recommendations, to change the definition of a child under the Labor Act. The second one is to also align the minimum age for employment, and as is right now, and this is specific to full-time employment. So it's very, very important to understand that it's minimum age for full-time employment, as is it's 14. So the recommendation submitted by the LRC is to increase it to 16.
That is aligned with the compulsory age of education to 16. But child labor is very prevalent in Belize, especially in the agricultural industry in the north. Children are exposed to child labor primarily because they help to generate income for the family. So how does this process address the financial dependency while eradicating child labor?
This morning I was coming to work and the vehicle slowed down at a speed bump and children ran out, bags of mangoes. And the first thing that crossed my mind was, why aren't you in school? Yes? They say, I have to help my family. It's not that I don't want to. Yeah? So that is just a typical basic example. But again, you look on construction sites. You see young boys, 14 years old, 15 years old. They're on the roof. What if they fall? That's 20 feet down, or they are on scaffolding. The idea is not that child cannot work. Yes? There's decent work. But there's also hazardous work. And that is what we're saying, anything that negatively impacts on a child's social, educational being, health, something is wrong with it. So it's an issue that we are trying to address. We have to work with all stakeholders. We have to go out to communities. We have to go to different industries to address it. And it has implication for Belize as a country.
To assist the government with monitoring and enforcement, the project also provided a list of hazardous work, light work, and worst forms of child labor, as well as industrial undertaking to further clarify what child labor is.
If you look at the Labor Act presently, it is very, very difficult to understand what child labor is based on the language that is included in the Labor Act. So by including these definitions and clarifying certain things, we're hoping that the enforcement agencies and the labor inspectorate will be able to carry out better inspections, having proper legal framework to work with. In addition to this, to complement the definitions, the LRC also submitted a draft hazardous work list and a draft light work list.
As we speak, those recommendations are at the board and they are reviewing them. When they are finished, then they will advise the ministry on how to go forward. But the ultimate objective is to pass or improve existing legislation.
The recommendations are still in the validation process and need to be further consulted. Duane, Moody for News 5.